joining this special edition of the International Children's Day of Broadcasting. My name is Michelle Michael Ofre, and I'm your host for today's ICDB specials. With me as a co-host is
Ayomikun Odusi. We are students of Lela Blossom Schools Abuja. On this edition of the ICDB special, we will be talking about an issue that calls for global attention and a state of emergency in our nation. The burden of drug abuse and crimes among adolescents in Nigeria is becoming a public health concern. What are the root causes, preventive measures, and targeted interventions that are in place?
Before we proceed on our discussion with our guests, please kindly bring your children closer to your TV screens and let them be a part of this program, because this program is related to them in many different ways. Firstly, let's set a background on today's topic with this short drama skit by fellow students of Lela Blossom Schools Abuja.
Oh God, I can't concentrate right now. I have this test on Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is the only time I can read, and it's not enough. I can bet you I will not pass. And if I don't pass, I can't go to the next class. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yo, Zara, what's up?
What?
Why do you look so tired and stressed?
I have test on Monday and I can't do anything right now because I haven't even started. It's hard.
That sounds rough. But you know there's actually easier ways to do it, right? There's this kind of substance that you can take to boost your memory and increase your concentration levels. And it can help you get better grades.
What is that thing?
I don't have it on me right now, but you find out soon enough.
But I need it right now. I can't concentrate. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Do you know what that means?
Don't worry. You get to know soon enough. Oi, what's up, bro? Yeah.
So I could only get 2 of the stuff.
No problem. Yeah, see you later. As you can see, this is what I was talking about.
Feels really small. And it is cookies. Why is it cookies?
No, it's actually cookies, yeah, but this kind of twist to it.
And how does this help me to concentrate?
You know what, just go home, take it when you get home, and make sure you keep this a secret between the two of us.
Okay, it's nothing much to keep from cookie.
All right, I'll see you later.
What's up? I'm fine, I'm okay.
I just came to check up on you.
Yeah, I'm reading for the Monday test.
Oh, I see. Oh, is that cake? Can I have some?
No, it's something different.
Okay. Okay, I'm going back to class now. Good luck.
No, goodbye.
Bye.
You know what? As he said, it's not that stressful, so I'll just take one of it and maybe all my stress will. Not bad. How is she? Oh, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you since.
You haven't heard the news?
What news?
People are talking about how Zara was running around the hall shouting like she was crazy.
What? I just met Zara a minute ago.
Said it was because she took a muffin, cake, something like that.
Ah, yeah, there was a cake on her table, but she didn't want me to have it. She said it was only for herself.
Are you sure those cake aren't laced with drugs?
Drugs?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but maybe they are. I think it's Dotun and Khalid that gave her those drugs.
You saw them?
Yes.
Drugs.
Yes, because when I came into the class, I just saw them going out of the class.
I hope she's okay though.
Yes.
Because these days I'm hearing news about people dying.
Like, but what's so special about drugs?
I don't know.
People just take them thinking it actually helps them, not knowing it's destroying their
Maybe
lives.
they don't know it damages their system.
I hope she's okay though.
Even I.
Let's go.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the short drama skit, which was directed by a student of Lela Blossom School, Temiloluwa Funsho. If you have just joined us, it is the ICDB special. To discuss the prevalence rate of drug abuse and crime, joining us is the country's representative of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, Mr. Oliver Stope. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sir, could you please tell us the mandate of the UNODC in Nigeria in relation to children?
Right. So our organization, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, is the United Nations organization that has been set up specially to help member states addressing issues that relate to drug use, to crime in general, crime prevention, criminal justice systems, and the prevention and combating of terrorism. So we have those three broad mandate areas, and of course across these we are working in Nigeria. We have a relatively ambitious strategic vision for Nigeria, which we developed jointly with the Ministry of Justice and many of the Nigerian institutions, as well as of course in consultations with civil society, the private sector and the international development partners. And I'm very pleased to say that in that context we also consulted quite a bit with young people, because we want, of course, in view of the demographics of this country, really to make our programs and our interventions as relevant as possible to young people. So some of the specific programs that we're working on that are relevant, basically particularly for children and young people, include issues, of course, around drug use. So, for example, drug education, drug prevention in schools, which is absolutely critical. Then you have issues of basically broader crime prevention, where we are working both at community level, sort of creating youth centers, but most importantly working with a program that was launched in the presidency addressing the needs of at-risk children. So we're talking essentially about children that are out of school, that come out of difficult economic circumstances, family circumstances, and that are much more prone basically to all forms of antisocial behavior, drug use, crime, also violent extremism. So we are trying to work through sports, reaching them through sports, and have been working with the At-Risk Children initiative in the presidency, trying to integrate basically the sports-based program into that initiative. And there's others that we will certainly probably touch upon in the course of this conversation.
So, sir, how would you assess the prevalence rate of drug use and crime amongst adolescents in Nigeria?
Now let's start with drugs, because that's really, I think, a very different topic. On drug use prevalence, we have one of the highest drug use prevalences worldwide in Nigeria. It's really a source of grave concern. We actually only really became aware of this, the magnitude, the scope of this problem, when we did the very first national drug use survey jointly with the National Bureau of Statistics in 2017-2018. So at that time, we found that 14% of the Nigerian adults, and adults included young people as of the age of 15 upwards, had at least made use of drugs at least once during the previous year. So just to give you an idea, that's 14% in Nigeria. That compares to about 5.5% at the global level. So you can see that in Nigeria is almost 3 times as high as it is at the global level. So prevalence, in short, is very high. It's a grave concern. And thankfully, also due to this data, we have seen a lot of action happening, and especially in these last 5 years.
Okay, sir. In almost every Nigerian society and community, you will find young people on the streets and even in academic institutions who are deeply engaged in the use of drugs and are sometimes committing harmful crimes due to the effects of these drugs. So what would you say are the root causes of drug use in young children and adolescents?
Well, first of all, I think it's very important that drug use is a societal problem, but it has always individual root causes. So the motivating factors for drug use can be very different across the individuals that are concerned. It can be curiosity. It can be peer pressure, it can be the harshness of life and trying to cope with that. For young people, very often also the challenges just of growing up and finding your place in society. So it's really different for different people, and we need always to understand at the individual's level what is the issues that are driving the drug use. Of course, general prevalence in society is making its own sort of effects on drug use. So if a lot of people around you use drugs, it becomes a certain normality and you will try. But whether you're going on to use drugs regularly and perhaps even develop a drug use disorder, that is very much linked to how you respond as an individual to the use of drugs and to the specific drug that you're using.
At Playback Nigeria, we explored the use of community-based education, fear, drama, and theatre to change attitudes toward alcohol and substance abuse. So, sir, what is the practical, not just practical, but targeted interventions that UNODC and her partners have put in place to address the pandemic of drug use and crime in Nigeria?
Right. So, of course, our programs and projects are really looking at all the aspects of drug control. So we're looking at issues of drug trafficking, countering drug cultivation. We're looking at the so-called supply reduction. We're looking at demand reduction, both in terms of prevention as well as in terms of treatment. Now, when we're looking at specifically adolescents, our main intervention, our principal intervention, has been the introduction of a program that is called Unplugged into school-based education. So across all secondary schools, federal secondary schools, it was already rolled out. It has been rolled out in about 3 or 4 states, also in partnership with the respective governors. And the most important, I think, outcome that we can see is that this program, it's basically a 10 sessions long skill-based program. It tries to educate young people, on the one hand, of course, about drugs themselves, but more importantly, providing them with these life skills which are typically associated with delayed or completely avoided drug use. So, for example, understanding peer pressure, understanding coping mechanisms with stress, understanding issues of emotional intelligence, and so on and so forth. So basically it tries to build in young people those kind of like basic skills of how to deal with the challenges of growing up. And one of the challenges of growing up is also the exposure to drug use. And that is what that program is doing. Has been rolled out to, I think, if I'm counting correctly, about 700-800 schools across Nigeria. But of course, I'm being very realistic. There's about 27,000 between public and private schools, secondary schools in Nigeria. And that is the target that we should be reaching. So we're falling far short behind what is really needed.
Okay, so what advice do you have to young people who have been exposed to drugs over time?
Well, of course, if you have already used drugs and if you feel that you have actually developed some form of dependence, then you should really go and seek counseling. Now, I know this is difficult for young people, and therefore I'm very glad that the NDLEA, the Nigeria Drug Law Enforcement Agency, has actually launched a hotline where you can call, and you can call anonymously. So you don't need to give your name. You can just describe the problem that you have and basically seek their guidance. They have psychologists on their team, they have social workers on their team, and they will help you to deal basically with those issues as long as it is basically mostly a psychological issue. If you are experiencing physical dependency symptoms, then of course treatment is required. And there is an increasing number of treatment centers across Nigeria. We've just done a mapping of it, and we can of course also help with respective information. Of course, I would always like to say stay away of drugs, say no to drugs, but I'm a realist. We are all living in a society, we are all exposed to those issues, and I think it's more the question of how we deal with them than just simplistically saying don't do it, which has not worked in any place in this world, and it will not work in Nigeria.
We want to say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Oliver, for being a guest on today's ICDB special, despite your very busy schedule.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have been talking to the country representative of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime in Nigeria, Mr. Oliver Stope, on the prevalent rate of drugs and crimes among adolescents in Nigeria.
That's all we have for you today, and special thanks to AIT Dark Communications PLC and Playback Nigeria for giving us the opportunity to celebrate the ICDB 2023.
This program has been brought to you by Lela Blossom Schools in collaboration with Playback Nigeria and AIT. We would love for you to join our Family Improve Workshop classes. The Family Improve Workshop classes are the best way to bond with family members using team building activities and theater games.
If you love what we do and you want to support our community-based intervention to addressing substance and crime abuse in young children, please check our website at www.playbacknigeria.com or follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at Playback Nigeria, or call 0907 2808 091. I'll repeat that, 0907 2808 091.
Until you join us again on another edition of the ICDB Special, I am Ayomikun Odusi, a student of Lela Blossom School.
And I am Michelle Michael Lofrey. It's been a pleasure to host you. Have a good day.